I appreciate you doing this with me.
Well, I appreciate you doing this. I think it's just wonderful.
Thank you. Well, so the first question is, what's your full name?
Dennis Harry Withy.
And do you know where your parents got your name from?
My middle name come from my father's dad, my mother's dad, named Harry Fichter.
Okay.
And Dennis because somebody gave him $25 to name me Dennis.
They liked it.
Yeah. And what was the other question there?
That was the first one, if you knew where you got your name. I think you told me, how many boys are in your family?
5. And I'm the middle son.
You're the middle son.
2 older, 2 younger, and so I get picked on by the older, and the younger takes advantage.
the baby. I understand the babies. I think that's every family, but especially with 5 boys. Did you have any sisters?
No sisters.
So just those boys. What comes to mind when you think about growing up?
Well, when I remember about growing up, even so we didn't have diddly squat. I mean, like, we was a poor family on the other side of the tracks. I had the best parents you could possibly ever have. I mean, they were great. I mean, we lacked nothing, but had nothing, but we lacked nothing.
Right.
So I think that was a super, and they're good religious Christian people, very godly people, and they lived that kind of life they lived. They didn't necessarily go to church every Sunday, but they practiced Almighty God. And so I thank God for the kind of upbringing that I had.
What religion are you?
No particular one, but if I had to name one, it'd be Baptist.
Baptist?
But there's no particular one.
But that's what your parents were, was Baptist?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that's what I am. But that's all I can say. That's, I went to different churches over the years.
Checked them out. So, where was home? Where'd you grow up?
Michigan until about age 12. And then my parents moved from Michigan in 1958 to California. From a green, water, cool winter place to the Mojave Desert in California.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so that was interesting.
And you were 12, so you went to high school.
I was around 12. Figures 1946 I was born, and 1958 they moved to California. Whatever that comes to.
So you went to high school in California and grade school in Michigan.
I went to grade school in Michigan.
So did you have a grade school teacher that sticks out in your head?
I don't remember any teacher names.
That's fine, but nobody that you particularly love?
There is one.
Is there?
The machine shop instructor.
Okay.
And when I realized there had shop classes in the high school, and machine shop was one of them, I clapped right on it. And I made over 47, 50 years of work in the trade. And the instructor's name was Mr. Briscoe. He was a machinist himself. And I learned a lot from that guy. And then I went to trade school besides that, and junior college besides all that, and wellness school besides all that.
Where did you go to trade school at?
Los Angeles Technical Trade College.
Oh, okay.
I took all of the classroom classes pertaining to my trade. I didn't take any shop classes because I already had a lot of time in the trade. And then I went to welding fabrication school under G.I. Bill. And what was the other one? I mentioned one more too, I think.
The grade? I don't remember. We might pick it up with the other questions. We might remember what.
Sometimes my mind slips on me here.
Oh, mine always does. That's why I use the list of questions, because otherwise I'd start talking and we'd end up in a totally different place than we were trying.
Yeah.
So, when you were a kid in Michigan, what did you like to do?
Fishing.
Fishing?
Walking out in the woods.
Did you live close to a lake or a river?
We live there's lakes and ponds and creeks and swamps all around our home. We was out in the middle of the country.
Oh, how nice. What about when you guys moved to California? What'd you like to do?
Well, at first I wasn't sure, but when we first moved to California, we going from the green, wet, beautiful state Michigan was and is, to the Mojave Desert, hot and dry and brown. That was a little bit of a shock. But I got used to it, and I got to learn to like it very well. So I used to go walk in the desert all the time.
Oh, you walked out in the desert?
Yeah.
So I would be afraid because I'm afraid of snakes. Did you see many snakes?
I've seen a few off and on, but not many.
Not too bad?
I've seen a Gila monster a couple times.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And I seen one time rattlesnakes doing a mating dance.
Oh,
And
really?
what they do is they raise their bodies up, and they're up about 1.5 foot, and their bodies twirl around while they're mating, and then they drop down and go about their way. I seen the whole thing happen. That was pretty neat.
That sounds pretty neat.
Yeah.
Even though I'm afraid, I'd like to watch it from way far away.
Well, this was far away because I didn't want to interrupt it.
Right, yeah, they'd probably be pretty aggressive if you...
Well, they would go away, you know.
Did you have a best friend growing up?
Not really. I had friends.
Yeah.
I never tried to have a best friend because I think having friends is better than having a best friend.
Right, but many good friends instead of just one.
I hung around. I think the way to answer that question, I still am, and I've always been very picky who I choose as my friend. You know, and so that's what I've always done. That's pure and simple.
Do you still talk to anybody from childhood?
No, I have not seen them in many years. Long time ago.
Now, you moved up to, was it Washington and then to North Idaho?
Well, when my parents moved from Michigan in 1958, no, moved out of Michigan in 1958 to California, to Mojave Desert. And then a year later, they moved into the city where my dad could make better money.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 1965, I went in the Army, and I got out of the Army in 1968. Just an 18-year-old kid when I went in. And then when I got out, I lived in, I think it was Southgate for a short while.
Okay.
And then eventually I met my wife and we got married, and the rest is history.
Well, it's history I want to hear. So, did you play any sports when you were in high school?
No, I did not. I never liked sports, and I was a big klutz in it. I was a kid that nobody wanted to pick in the first place. You know, and besides, I didn't care because I didn't care for sports anyway. You know, I wasn't any good.
No.
You know, simple as that.
Did you guys have pets or animals when you were growing up?
Yes, we did. We had, in Michigan, my dad had like a mini farm, you might call it. We had chickens and goats and all sorts of critters. Banty hens, just all kinds of animals. Goats, had some goats,
Oh,
had some
very
rabbits. Yeah, and then you gotta understand we lived out in the country, so there's animals out there all the time.
Right.
So I've been around animals all my life.
Any particular favorite pet or animal that you raised?
If there was one, and I have to say there was, my dad and mother, when I was growing up, had a dog. He was part collie and part pure dog, and they call him Buster. A strong, very strong dog. Something a neighbor, a friend, or milkman come by, don't be putting your hand on the kids. That dog will nail you right now. And so yeah, we had a dog named Buster. That was a great dog.
Sounds like it. Good to protect you kids.
That was our buddy. Oh, it was, yeah. If anybody tried to mess with us kids back in that day and time, you would not be standing.
You told me that you were clumsy. What else can you tell me about how you were when you were a child?
Well, I'm clumsy in sports, for sure. Coordination, I don't have for sports. But as a kid, I used to go fishing, walking out in the woods, exploring, that kind of stuff. I was always out in the woods and by the river or creeks or something like that.
Did you do good with your education and studies?
I did as good as I could because when I was in the grade that they're going to teach you how to read and spell and pronounce words correctly. Because I know some of my words I say probably sound funny because I just don't know how to pronounce it. But I did not let that be a problem for me. And what was the question now?
Just how you did in school.
Okay. So at any rate, and then I went to school, like all my life, I gave 100% on everything all the time, nothing less.
Good.
And that's what I've always did. My philosophy is real simple. I take the best, I try to be the best, and let God take care of the rest.
That's a good attitude.
Yeah, I think so.
So here's a fun one. Did you ever get in trouble when you were a kid?
A couple of times. What kid didn't?
I know, but I want to hear the story. What'd you do?
Well, one time, my mom and dad, like I say, never had no money. We was like the poor people that live way on the far side of the woods, south of the park and south of the railroad track. But, all kidding aside, one winter, they had an old Wringer wash machine. You know, they're the round kind.
Uh-huh.
All the neighborhood kids had something to slide down hills with. We didn't have nothing because we didn't have no money. And so old Brainy here picked up the lid off the round Wringer wash tub. I had fun until my father got home. And then I learned a hard lesson the hard way. And rightfully so. He worked too hard for that stuff, but I was just a kid and I wanted to have something fun to do. And we didn't have anything like that. We didn't have a sled.
That was pretty creative.
Well, I'll tell my dad caught me hold of me.
I didn't say it was a good idea. I just said it was a creative idea.
I don't blame my father
No.
at all. In fact, I think he let me off light, but I sure learned a lesson real quick.
Yeah.
But that's the way it was, you know.
Yeah. That's what childhood's for, learning lessons.
Yeah.
What was your favorite meal that your mom cooked?
Breakfast, breakfast, breakfast. You want to serve my favorite meal?
Uh-huh.
Give me breakfast 10 times a day. I'll take it.
Is it eggs or pancakes?
Eggs, pancakes, bacon, sausage, any of the combination.
Any breakfast?
I absolutely love breakfast.
Oh, that's awesome. Tell me about your mom. What was her name?
Betty Margaret Withy. And she was a short lady. She was a very dedicated and hard worker to my father, and my father vice versa. And she did all kinds of odd jobs, anything you can think of to make money, because you got to bear in mind, we had nothing. No money, I mean, like nothing. And so she did everything she could, like taking neighbors to the doctors or washing clothes or whatever it was. She did it. And my father worked sometimes 3 jobs even. But my mother was definitely a hard, honest worker and a very good Christian woman. And she was always very good to us kids, unless you got her mad at her. Well, she's still good to us, but she definitely had a temper sometimes. So us innocent kids didn't do anything wrong, you know.
What about your dad? What was his name?
Francis Ray Withy. He's a French-Canadian name.
Oh, did he speak French?
No, well, he never did us. So I don't think I have to say no to it.
Yeah.
And he was an auto mechanic. And before he became an auto mechanic, I got to back up a little bit. when he used to work at a AC spark plug factory in Flint, Michigan,
Oh, okay.
and my mother did too. My dad ran a screw machine that made parts, and my mother was an inspector. And when my mother and dad seen each other, it was love at first sight, and within like a week or two, they were married. And it lasted almost 50 years before my father died.
I was gonna ask how they met, and you knew what was coming next.
Well, yeah, I guess I did.
Yeah,
But yeah, so they had a rock solid marriage. I mean, it was rock solid.
that's
That
awesome.
demonstrated how a married couple should be. And granted, they had some terrible times financially, but they also taught how to overcome all of that stuff and how to live with it. So that's the way. And my mother had blood clots at one time. We almost lost her, in fact. And so that was a bad time. But my dad got over it. We all got over it.
And she healed up.
Yeah, she held up, and financially, like I say, we had no money, but we managed because of the way they lived.
Do you remember what was your best or worst Christmas? Like a Christmas that sticks out in your mind from your childhood?
I have no worst Christmas.
Oh,
They're
that's
all
good.
great. Christmas time, if we got a little sack of candy, that was a lot. And we generally never got anything beyond that. There was, like I say, there was just no money growing up, none. So growing up in Christmas time, it was great. I have no regrets. But as far as gifts, like nowadays the kids have and so forth, no such thing. I mean, like I said before, we was the poor people on the other side of the tracks that nobody wanted to talk to.
Did you guys ever go on vacation or trips to see grandparents or camping?
Yeah, my parents did when I was in school. But that after several years later, while I was in junior high and high school, yes, they did. They went to Iowa, where my mother's side is from, Michigan, my dad's side is from. So, yeah, they did that. And some very nice trips. And particularly as the older they got, the more money they had. So they could take nice trips. And there was a short time when I was still in school, I was fortunate enough to go on a couple of trips with them.
Where did you go with them?
I think Grand Canyon is one of them. Iowa 2-3 times, and Michigan one time. Went to Michigan, had a gigantic family reunion. You know what a family reunion is?
Uh-huh.
Well, this was country style, which means all the neighbors and friends and family, they bring over all kinds of picnic tables. I mean, lots of them. And every one of them was full of food. Yeah, desserts, main dishes, all works. And then, of course, there was beer in the backyard for the adults. So yeah, it was a great time. I enjoyed my childhood.
That sounds like a wonderful
I
get
thought it
together.
was great.
Yeah, that sounds really nice.
I don't have no regrets growing up.
That's awesome. So tell me about your 4 brothers.
Well, Gilbert, he's the oldest. He's like in the 80s, early 80s right now. Was married, divorced, and then remarried many years ago. Now he's been married to this woman 35, 40 years. And he has 5 kids of his own. And I think most of them, I don't think they're all married, but he has 5 kids. They're all adult kids, obviously.
Big family.
And his first wife was Sharon, and I always liked her. She was a great lady. And Beverly, his new wife that he's had for 30 plus years, I guess. I like Beverly too. She's a nice lady.
Good.
I have no problem with that. So, yeah, it was good. And Gilbert had, I'm going to say, I don't know the number, but maybe 14 great grandkids and great grandkids.
Big family.
He's got a bunch of them.
That's nice.
Yeah. And that's basically Gilbert. He's always been in management for Working Wise. Uh, he's always knew how to make decent money. He's been good at that. And then that basically, there's more to it, obviously, but and then there's Jerry, my ex older brother. He's been in management for a company for many years until he retired. Now, just kill it, yeah. And so he's been in management for many years, and he used to work at a place where they made these grinders for prisons and factories and stuff, where they had to grind up big stuff and little stuff through the sewer system.
Oh, okay.
So he's the one that the engineers called to the company, and he's the one to set up what kind of equipment they need for that particular application. So he did all the design on that.
That's cool.
Yeah, he did that for many years. Then I was a machinist for all my life, for about 47, 50 years, something like that. And then Francis, my next younger brother, he worked for the telephone company.
Oh, okay.
And then later on, he worked for the
Oh, sorry.
You're fine.
he worked for the telephone company for years and many years. And then he, after retired, he went to this high school and worked as a gardener to finish up his time. So it worked out good for him. It gave him an extra retirement that way.
Yeah, that's nice.
And then Russell, the younger, pestier brother, hear that, Russell? But he was a postal guy. He worked for the post office.
Oh, very cool.
Did a great job. Got a great retirement. So yeah, so he did well.
Good for him. Who lives up here? Anybody?
Just as far as my brothers go, it's just me.
Just you're
I
up
do
here.
have my wife's cousin. Her husband lives here. And then Russell, the youngest brother, he's going to be moving up here permanently this coming next year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's going to live in my house.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
So I say, perfect. Live in it all you want. No big deal.
Yeah, no, that'll be nice for you guys to be together. Did you know your grandparents at all?
I knew first of all, my grandpa and grandma on my dad's side, I did not know, but I knew them. I didn't know. What I'm saying is, they died when I was like a year old.
Okay.
So I mean, I maybe don't know.
Yeah, you wouldn't
And
remember.
then on my mother's side, the same thing for my grandpa Victor. I never knew him. He died. Well, I forget now. I might have been born. I think I was born, but as a baby, I wouldn't know. My grandmother Victor, my mother's mother, I knew her, and I knew her very well, and she was quite the lady. And yeah, she died in, I don't know, I forget the year now. But yeah, I was around her for many years.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Did you have any other family that you knew growing up?
Well, all my aunts and uncles.
You did know them?
Oh gosh, all of them. I mean, that's a big list. I got on my dad's side, I got 9 aunts and uncles, and their wives and their kids.
It's a big family.
And then my mother's side, about the same way.
So now I want to talk about the family you made. So where did you meet your wife?
In Southern California, in a city called Southgate. And I seen her walk down. I lived in an apartment up on the other end of the street than my parents did. And every once in a while, I see this lady walk down the road, on the sidewalk, with a guitar in her hand, going to church. And I seen her countless times. And then one day, my mother and Carol, my wife, they were in the choir together. So they knew each other for a long time before I did. And then my mother said, would you go pick up a gal named Carol because I want to have her dinner? And so I said, well, sure. I didn't know who she was, but when I seen her, then I knew I've seen her countless times walking down the street. And she was a good Christian woman, I can tell you that. And so when we first locked eyes, instantly we knew it.
And so what was her full name? You said Carol.
Carol Ann Withy. Carol Ann, now that I want to say it, I can't remember now.
That's all right.
But yeah, when we seen each other, we knew.
And so when did you propose to her?
About a week later.
And when did you guys get married?
We waited about 9 months, something along that line.
Where did you get married at?
In Southgate, California, at the Baptist Church.
At a Baptist church.
Yeah.
Was her family there? Were they from California?
Yeah, Carol's family lived there, but they didn't go to church. But they lived right a couple blocks away. And then my mother and dad lived across the street from the church, and my mother did go to church, and my dad occasionally would go. So that's how it went down.
And so you and Carol, how long were you married? You told me and I don't remember, I'm sorry.
I think it was 37 plus years.
I was thinking 37. I thought that's what you told
Yeah.
me the other day.
And when she died in my arms, in the bathroom. She died of congested heart failure.
But you were there with her, so that's good.
She was in my arms when she died.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told my daughter it's kind of hard to talk about.
And if you don't want to, you just tell me and we can
It's
stop.
okay. But when she died, some people might call me nuts or whatever they want to say. When I know for a fact, when she died, I was holding her on the bathroom floor because she was in a wheelchair. She slipped out. And I swore then and I swear now, the moment she died, like something came right in front of me. Right in front of me. And according to the Bible, Jesus Christ and the heavenly angel would come take you home. And I think that's what happened.
I'm so glad you were there with her. I know that's hard, but you know, she didn't die alone and you
That's
got
right.
to have that feeling and you know she's in a good place and
Well, I seen something I seen something come right in front of me. You could grab it, but you couldn't grab it. I think that was my wife's spirit in Christ, and the heavenly angel took her home.
yeah, I'm glad you were there for that.
But some people think I'm nuts on that one, but they're not very religious. They don't think that can happen.
I don't think you are nuts at all. Okay, so your best moments with Carol or best memories.
I would have to say, just seeing her the first time, realizing, because Carol felt exactly the same way, and we talked about it like a week later, realizing what exactly is going to happen. You know, and we talked about that a few days later, and we had said the same thing. And so, she was the best thing that ever happened to me, I can tell you that.
That's wonderful. And then you have how many children?
One daughter,
And when did you decide to have her?
when Carol got pregnant.
So it wasn't planned, it was just a,
Well, we wanted kids,
yeah.
you know, and so we had one, and Carol wasn't up to it mentally or physically to have another one, so I did not push it anymore.
It's hard to have kids.
But we got one beautiful daughter, her name is Laura Ann Withy, and we love her to pieces.
Where did you get her name from?
Carol picked it up.
Yeah, it's very pretty. It flows nice.
Yep, we decided, we decided, whatever, since you're the one giving birth, you're going to go through all the birth pain, you name our child.
Well, that was nice of you.
I think it's proper.
I agree, but not everybody does.
Yeah,
Were you scared when you found out you were going to be a father?
no,
Nope.
not a bit.
You were ready.
Apparently was, not a bit scared.
How old were you when you guys had Laura?
I don't know the exact age, but I'm going to say 31, thereabouts.
Okay. So
Got
not-
married when I was 30.
okay, so you weren't
So-
too young.
31, 32, yeah.
Yeah. That might have helped not being scared. You were a little
Yeah.
more prepared.
It was my wife's second marriage and my first marriage, and I didn't get married because I didn't find the right person that I was comfortable with.
You were waiting for the right one.
And God gave me.
That's wonderful. What are some of your best memories of Laura and being her dad and growing up?
When I first seen her in the excuse me, it's kind of hard. When I first seen her in the hospital, it's kind of funny. The nurse was holding her up like this, brand new newborn, and all of a sudden, poop came down the sink. I couldn't help but laugh. Yeah, but the best feeling was when I got to hold her. That was great.
That is
And I was the first one to feed her.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, it was.
When she was little, like 5 or younger, what was she like? Because she wouldn't remember.
Typical 5-year-old, I would say, for one thing. And she used to like to, well, we took her to the park, we took her out to the park all the time and threw the ball and that kind of stuff. I used to take her swimming in the swimming pool. We didn't have one, but where we lived, they had one. I used to take her swimming all the time. And I first would start her off in the shallow end. And then before I would give her to Carol Ann, I'd swim around the edge of the deep end and get out the deep end. And then I'd say, Laura, now hold your breath now. All the way to the bottom. And I would hold her. She'd kick. And then I'd come back up. And I do that every time to get her used to facing the water. And then over the course of 2 years, I taught her how to swim.
Okay.
And I taught her how to do, don't be afraid to get water in your face and swim under the water. Don't panic, all that kind of stuff. So she knows how to swim pretty decently now.
That's awesome, because a lot of people don't.
Yeah, I know that. But I wanted to get her the fear over. And then as it progressed, the second year progressed, from teaching her how, I tell her, get on a deep end of the swimming pool, I'm going to catch you. And that was just a confidence builder for her. And she would jump in, and there she goes, and I catch her.
Where did you guys live when she was growing up?
We lived in, at first we lived in Southgate for a while, I don't remember how long. And then we moved to Anaheim, California. That's where we rented an apartment there. And they had a swimming pool, that's where I could teach her to swim.
Very nice.
Yeah, and one thing I've always maintained, and Carol did the same thing, we always had time for our daughter. That was the most important thing.
It is. Being a parent is the most important job you can ever have.
And then we go to church, take her to church with us. Yeah.
Okay.
But if you're going to have kids, you have got to spend time with them. You got to give them your attention.
Yes.
Too many kids grow up today, they don't have that.
I agree. So how did you end up in North Idaho? So you were in California, and what made you guys move up this way?
Okay, we moved from wait a minute now. My wife died in California.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what it was. Let me think here. Boy, my memory's not good, but I'm thinking, no, I'm thinking she did not. She moved to Washington State with me. And because I wanted to work for Boeing Aircraft Company
Oh, okay.
for better benefits and better pay. And that's what I did. And I don't know the year, and I were going back a long ways, but yeah, she died. My mind's foggy, she could have died in California, but it don't seem to be that the case, but I don't remember.
That's all right. You know what I forgot to ask is what's your birthday?
February 5th, 1946.
And that's coming up. I knew it was February, but I could not remember. So
Yeah.
you're going to be how old in about 3 weeks?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Gonna be 75.
75. That's a great number.
That's a great number if you can live long enough to.
Yeah. 25 times 3.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just realized I knew we had talked about that when it was just you and me, but I had forgotten to ask your birthday.
That's all right.
You said you were in the military. What branch?
I was in the U.S. Army from 1965 November till November of 1968. And I went into Fort Ord, California, basic training. I went to Aberdeen, Maryland, back east for mechanic training. And then I got shipped to Washington State for about a week in the old World War II barracks.
Okay.
And then I went on up to up into Washington, where I can't remember the name of where it was at now. And then that's where I'm sorry. Then I went to Fort Richardson, Alaska.
Oh, up in Alaska.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
I bet.
Yeah, it was gorgeous there. So I was there 3 years, and then the last year I was in Fort Seal, Oklahoma.
So you went all over the U.S.
I did. Yeah, I got what I wanted.
That's
I
awesome.
wanted to go to Alaska, and I wanted to go down south for the last year. And I did well. I made sergeant in 14 months.
Good for you.
14 months? No. Yeah, something like that. But I made it really fast.
You're a hard worker. I believe it.
Yeah, I made it so quick I couldn't believe it.
What do you think made you successful as a machinist?
I think what makes anybody successful, do your best, be your best, put 100% into it, and do it with the right attitude. And staying focused on what you want to do in your life. Because there's no point going to school for a machinist and want to be a plumber. That's crazy. And so I stayed focused because I knew what I wanted. And all thanks to Mr. Briscoe in the machine shop.
I love that. And wasn't your dad a machinist too?
No, my dad, my father ran a screw machine for a short temporary time until he met my mother. And then he went back to being a mechanic.
Mechanic. That's what
Yeah.
I thought that they kind of went together. You can come in. We'll pause. Trying to remember. Oh, we were talking about the military. And so you did the military before you met your wife.
Yes.
Okay. So just timeline in my head.
Went in the Army in 1965 in November. I got out in November of 68. And I went to basic training in Fort Ord, California. In Aberdeen, Maryland, I went to mechanic school for like 3 months. And then went up to Washington, and we stayed in some old barracks for about a week. And then I went to Alaska for 2 years. In Alaska, I went to non-commissioned officer school. I went to Special Forces training, and there's some other one I went to, I can't remember offhand.
If you're gonna do it, you do it right.
I did the best I could.
I
I
love
know
it.
I went to 3 schools, I just can't remember the third one now.
That's all right if it comes back to you. Do you read books? Are you a reader?
No,
Okay.
I can't read very well.
That's fine. I was gonna ask what your favorite book was, but if you don't like to read,
Well, if there's a favorite book, it's the Bible.
you like the Bible. Good. What about movies? Do you have a favorite movie?
Only of the old movies, I don't have any particular one, but I like the older movies better.
Yeah.
The newer movies seem to be a little bit too trashy.
You like black and white or just older?
What's older than black and white?
Well, no. not as old as black and white? Do you like Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the Technicolor. That's
I
what
like
they.
the Little Rascals and
Oh, I like Little
Laurel and
Rascals.
Hardy and all them. And
Oh, I forgot about Laurel and
yeah,
Hardy. Those are good.
I like the movies of that time.
Yeah, that's why I was just wondering if that time or even farther back.
And the movies today, I don't remember names very well, and it's harder for me to remember names anyhow. But there's some movies I like today, but I just can't remember them, the name of them.
That's all right. What about music? What's your favorite kind of music?
If I hate to say it, I don't have no favorite kind of music.
There's nothing to
And married to my wife, that was not good because she was a music lady.
I was gonna say you said she played the guitar.
She can play guitar and all kinds of things. So I listened to her, but if you ask me to sing, we'll drive everybody out of here. We don't want that.
What was the greatest adventure you had in your life?
Married my wife.
Marrying your wife?
No. But, well, I don't know if we call it a venture or not, but when I was single, I decided to take off, quit my job, which I did, and go up the Alaskan Highway. And I did.
So you drove from California to Alaska?
Just about Alaska.
That's
I was
awesome.
going to move up there at the time, and the more of these big camps of men waiting for jobs I seen, which was tons of them, the more I realized this ain't going to work. So I just kept on going a little ways further, turned around, went back home.
That's a fun adventure,
Called it
though.
a nice trip.
Yeah, that is a nice one.
Yeah.
So, you've lived both places. Are you a mountain man or an ocean man? Which is your
Definitely not
preference?
ocean.
You don't love the
I
ocean?
don't like the ocean. I like the woods and I like the mountains and all that sort of stuff. In the Army, I had my special training. Among the training I had, it was like a mini course of special forces.
Oh,
And one of the things you had to do was climb mountains. And some of the things they had you do was rather challenging, let's say.
yeah. That's awesome. I'm a mountain person, but I do like the beach.
Well, my wife was a beach lover.
I don't know. I'd be sad if I was there all the time, but I do like to go for a visit.
Yeah.
But I'm a mountain girl,
Well, then, good.
and I'm not made for the heat.
No. I used to go the last trip I took to the mountains was in the High Sierras.
Oh,
It was just before I got married. And so I went up there, camped 3 days alongside a creek, cold water. And I remember it was hot. Boy, was it ever hot. So I jumped in there and skinny dipped and got my body clean.
it was melted snow.
Oh, yeah. That definitely was cold.
Those Sierras, they keep snow all year long.
Yeah.
I bet that felt great though.
Felt great. And then I got out to start my car. And the car wouldn't start, the battery went dead.
Oh no.
So I had to flag somebody down from the road to jump start it.
Oh good though, you found somebody.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you had to roll start it.
No, I was too far down just from the road. I could not begin to push it.
Okay. So I'm glad you had somebody help you out.
I am too. I was a long way from the road.
I don't know, that's a good adventure too.
Yep.
How long were you out there? How long did you camp for?
A week.
A week? Yeah, that's a good adventure.
A week.
Because that's rough. I mean, it could hypothetically snow in the summer up there.
Well, the wife needed time to get everything ready for the wedding. Her family had things they want to do for the wedding and all that. So there was really nothing for me to do anyway. And I thought, here's my chance. Get away from the old lady early.
It was your bachelor party.
No, I didn't have a bachelor party.
That was, you went
Yeah.
camping. That was your
Yeah.
trip. I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Much better than going wild and crazy.
Oh, no, I don't do that.
You don't seem like
I'm
that.
already crazy.
Oh, let's see. What would you say you are most proud of?
My wife.
Your wife. You do.
My daughter.
You love your family. That makes me really happy, Dennis. Okay, here's a fun one. What were the 3 best decisions you ever made?
Well, number one, to show respect to my parents and grandparents. Number 2 would be marrying my wife. And number 3, having our daughter.
Those are great decisions. So, in like the opposite side, what was the biggest obstacle you had in your life?
My wife's family.
Were they,
Excuse how I say it, they were a pain in the ass.
uh,
Big time. And all they do is try to divide us and cause problems and everything like that. They were, my father-in-law he never said much of anything, but he wasn't one like that. But my wife's mother and her family, all but one aunt, they were absolutely, I'm going to be very polite and say nothing. They were bad.
I'm sorry you guys had to deal with that. But you definitely overcame it. I mean, had a good long marriage.
Well, I wasn't going to let them push me around, and I wasn't going to let them push my wife around unless that's what she wanted. You know, I made my mind up to that one. There was no point in that. And I'm going to tell you a little short story.
Please.
Before we got married, the wife wanted to go up to Idaho, here,
Uh-huh.
Lake, Ferdinand Lake, to be exact. Her aunt and uncle lived there.
Okay.
She wanted to come up here for a couple of weeks just to get her mind clear, and as he said, I just want to make sure this is all what I want. And I said, I understand that. So she didn't have no money, and her family would not help her any. Her family was all, her mother was all about her son, not Carol Ann. Carol got shoved aside. Well, matter of fact, when Carol was a baby, her mother gave Carol away to her grandmother to raise.
Okay, so then question number 2. What I most remember and cherish about life is?
Having a super great family. I mean, my family, but also, you know, aunts and uncles and parents and grandparents. I could not ask for any better family at all in any one of those relationships. From my wife and my daughter, to my mom and dad, to my aunts and uncles. Great, great people.
Of the things that I have taught you, what I hope you... I'm saying this funny because the way I'm reading it. So, to your daughter, what do you hope you taught her?
Hope we're taught a teacher that always stay focused on the right things in life and be very open and honest with yourself first. Because if you're not honest with yourself first, you're not going to go nowhere. And by being honest with yourself first, you're heading in a real positive direction that way. And you just do the best you can no matter what. Never, never give up. Ever give up. And stay close to God.
How about, here are some of the things you want to be remembered for. What do you want people to remember about you?
I think that would be an honest, hardworking man that devoted my life to my family and had the utmost respect to my parents and grandparents, and treating people properly and right as I know how to do and did.
And the last one is, I love you, and whatever you want to say to Laura or anybody, your brother that might be watching this.
Well, the immediate family, our brothers and such, I love all of you. You're wonderful. And life does come and go, and my time is coming, and I know that. And it's not going to bother me if I died right now. And I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid to die. So, but from my daughter, the same goes. Laura, just keep on being what you are, because you certainly come around a long ways. And you made a lot of very positive changes. and I'm extremely proud of you. Keep it up.